World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And hey, Chet, the Sixers lead the Celtics 3-2 after their best effort last night. Best team effort, certainly. Phillies lost 6 in a row before winning Sunday, and again last night, 1-1 in the bottom of the 10th at last check today. Very inconsistent at this point. The Flyers didn't get so lucky in the ping-pong draft for Connor Bedard, and the NFL schedule comes out tomorrow night. There's plenty to talk about.
Yeah, Bill, that Game 5 Sixers win up there in Boston was simply amazing. Can't wait for Thursday's Game 6. We'll talk Phils and Eagles, certainly. And, Bill, you somehow didn't mention this, but Lincoln Financial Field is going to be hopping Friday through Sunday. Oh, yeah. 3 sold-out Taylor Swift concerts. Come on, Bill.
Well, the important thing is that Taylor's going to ring the bell on Thursday night at the Wells Fargo Center,
Is
right?
that official?
Well, I think it is.
Okay, I didn't know if it was – I heard it was rumored. I didn't know if they officially announced it.
Yeah, I think it might be.
And, folks, later in the show, Bill is going to sing a medley of his favorite Taylor Swift songs, so stick around for that.
That won't take long. But hey, we have one of our very favorite guests back with us tonight to talk all things Eagles and a few other things. The Hall of Famer, Ray Didinger. So let's get to it and welcome Ray back to Philly Press Box Radio. Ray, welcome as always.
Good to be with you guys as always. And the first time I ever saw Taylor Swift was at a 76ers game.
Oh, yeah, when she sang the anthem like 20 years ago. She
was a high school kid. She was a high school kid who had won some kind of talent show, and the prize was you got to sing the Star Spangled Banner at a Sixers game. And she walked onto the floor and sang the Star Spangled Banner, and little did we know we were looking at the next great pop superstar. So
yeah, she was like 13
this will be a return engagement for Taylor Swift at the Sixers.
Amazing. Well, Ray, welcome back. You know what? We just celebrated our 9th anniversary last week on our show. You've been on with us 20 times over those 9 years. This is visit number 21, and we're going to do something with you tonight that we've never done before. We're going to start off talking 76ers basketball instead of Eagles, because the Sixers somehow are 3-2 up on the Celtics. What a great win Tuesday night that was. First of all, how did they do this, and can they finish the job Thursday night?
Oh yeah, I think they can. This is a much better Sixers team than the team they've had in the playoffs the last couple of years and went out in the second round. I think. And when the postseason started, I remember being on with Joe DeCamera and John Ritchie on WIP, and Joe asked me, did I think that this Sixers team have a chance to win it all? And I said, yeah, I think they do. I really think they do. I think that they're certainly – James Harden is much more integrated into the team now at this point than he was a year ago. Embiid is coming off his best season. And Maxey has blossomed into a star. And Tucker has given them something up in the front court they didn't have before. They've got a little bit of depth, and they're playing with a real sense of purpose. And I think that the fact that Milwaukee got knocked out helps them. The path is clear for them to get to the finals, I think. And we know the history of the Celtics series, and we know the Celtics are really a good team. But I think the Sixers are going to beat them, and I think they're going to win the next round, and I think they're going to the finals with a real chance to win the whole thing. I think they have a real shot at it this year.
I love it.
Well, Ray, we have talked about this all season long, and I think we saw it the other night, probably greater than any time this year. The team game the other night was spectacular. It wasn't the Joel Embiid show. And then the Harden show, a couple of those nights, it was everybody contributing right on down the line.
Yeah, I think that's true, and that's how you're going to have to win it. But I mean, you've already seen both sides of it in this series. I mean, you saw game one when Harden was just, I mean, that was vintage Harden, game one. And then the next two games, he shoots 5 for 28 and they lose them. I think you kind of know what you're going to get from Joel. I think that he's going to be Joel every night. I think this whole run is going to depend on the backcourt. I think Embiid is going to be MVP in it pretty much every time out now. But I think that the difference is going to be Harden, Maxey, the backcourt. If they can play the way they played last night and certainly in game one, then I think this team has a really good chance to go the distance. I really do.
Exciting times for sure, Ray. Speaking of exciting, the Phillies won 2-1 in 10 innings. Apparently an infield throwing error, the ghost runner scoring from second. So the Phillies got a win. We have the Sixers, and we have a bunch of Eagles draft picks that I think most people are, pretty happy with. As I put up the 7 guys that the Eagles drafted a week or so back, Ray, what's your overall take on these newcomers? I think they did very well. Do you agree?
No, I think they did. Yeah, I agree totally. And most of the media people across the country, the pundits and the NFL writers and, all the bloggers and all those people, all the Mel Kipers of the world gave the Eagles very high marks. In fact, I think just about every grading system that I saw had the Eagles with the best draft, not just one of the best drafts, but the best draft, especially if you factor DeAndre Swift into it. If you factor him in, which you probably should, if you put him into that group of guys you just saw, yeah, I thought it was really good. I didn't think that, the first round, I mean, they came away with 2 players I didn't think they were going to have a shot at. I didn't think they would have a shot at Jalen Carter, and they wound up getting him at number 9, trading up. And I really didn't think they'd have a shot at Nolan Smith. I mean, maybe if they had stayed at 10 and took him at 10, he would have been there. But once they made the move to Carter, I understood that. But I never would have thought they were going to get Carter at 9 and then still be able to get Smith at 30, but they did. So, things kind of broke their way there. And you got to give Howie Roseman a lot of credit. I mean, he played this thing beautifully, and he came away with some really good players. A couple, he even drafted a couple players that weren't from the University of Georgia who were pretty good players.
Right.
So all in all, I mean, if you're an Eagles fan, you got to feel pretty good with what your team did.
Right, Jalen Carter. The expectations. How did you have him rated in your draft? Is the expectation that he can be a Fletcher Cox impact type player, Pro Bowler, multiple Pro Bowler through his career?
Yes, he can. He has that kind of talent. I mean, this was not a particularly good draft for interior defensive linemen. It was a very good draft for edge rushers. It was a very good draft for defensive ends and outside linebackers and, guys that rush the passer from the outside. But it was a fairly thin draft in terms of defensive tackles. And Carter was head and shoulders the best at that position. And I really didn't think that he was going to get anywhere near where the Eagles were at 10. I really, everything that I had heard from people that were sort of in the know and the days leading up to the draft said, no, Seattle's taking him at 5, which made perfect sense to me. I mean, he's the best defensive tackle on the board. And if you look at the Seattle Seahawks, I mean, that was where they needed help. I mean, their defensive line was terrible last year. So that to me seemed like a very logical fit. And I know we all kind of knew the Eagles really liked Carter. They were very interested in him. But I didn't see any realistic way they could go up and get him. I mean, I thought that if they really wanted him, they were going to have to trade from 10 to 4 to get ahead of Seattle, which would have been very expensive. And I didn't think they would be willing to do that. So I just kind of, I had heard all the Carter talk, but I kind of put it aside and said, I don't think that's going to happen. But, when all of a sudden the draft goes down and Seattle goes for Witherspoon, the defensive back, and now Carter's still on the board, then I started thinking, they might have a shot at this. Now he's gettable, and he fell down to 9, and the Eagles made, a very easy trade from 10 to 9 for very minimal cost. And they got themselves a defensive lineman that, yeah, Bill, I mean, what you said is true. I think the comparison to Fletcher Cox is a pretty good one. I mean, he has a lot of the same, he's about the same size, and he has a lot of the same characteristics that Fletcher did coming out of college. If anything, I think he was a little better. I think he's a little, has the same kind of size and strength and wingspan, but he's actually, in my view at least, I think he's quicker. I think he's quicker off the ball and a better pure pass rusher and a more disruptive kind of 3 technique player than Fletch was. Fletcher got better as he got here for a while and played a little bit more, and he became a really fine player, multiple Pro Bowler. But, if you look at what they were coming out of college, I would say that Carter was probably the better prospect.
And we know about the off the field stuff, but I think that with so many great leaders on the Eagles that they're going to make sure he stays on the right path. Ray, I want to ask you about Sidney Brown. How do you like this young man?
I like him a lot. He was one of my sort of sleepers that when I was watching the film leading up to the draft, I was watching a lot of the University of Illinois. I was watching. I was really kind of watching to see Witherspoon because I had heard so much about him, and thinking that there was a really good chance the Eagles might have to draft a cornerback because I really didn't expect them to bring both Slay and Bradbury back. So I was looking at all this film to watch Witherspoon, and my eye kept being drawn to this safety who was all over the field, and turned out that was Sidney Brown, and he's really a good player. He was, just very opportunistic. I had the feeling that he might drop a little bit in the draft because he's not ideal size. He's 5'10.5", which probably is a little small on some people's scale in the NFL. But he has tremendous instinct, which is half the battle if you're a safety, is knowing where to be and when to be there. And despite his size, he's a good, solid tackler and always around the football. I mean, he had 6 interceptions last year for Illinois. 6 interceptions in a college season is a lot. And so he was that. And you just kind of got the sense, even though, Illinois had a blue chip player in Witherspoon at one corner and another good safety on the other side, that if you watched them play, you could see that Brown was kind of the quarterback back there. He was the guy that kind of kept everything together. So all of that together, the instinct, the intelligence, the physicality, and the knack for takeaways, to me, made him a very desirable player. So I had him as a 3rd-round pick just based on his size. And I was pleasantly surprised when he wound up being a 3rd-round pick of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hey, Ray, Tyler Steen, I'm sorry, another offensive lineman to come out of Alabama. Are the Eagles basically drafting offensive linemen kind of like to redshirt them for a year in Stoutland U before they can plug and play these guys? Steen can play, I think, but he's not ready to be a starter on this team.
Well, I don't know, Bill. He may turn out to be one. I think that you're probably right, and I agree with you that I think the best course for him would be to spend a year just watching, learning, because the Eagles have pretty much indicated that they're going to play him at guard, and he played tackle at Vanderbilt and Alabama, so he's going to have to be learning the guard position. So a redshirt year wouldn't be a bad thing for him, but I don't know about, right now there's an opening at right guard. I mean, Isaac Seumalo is going to Pittsburgh, and right now they're not sure who that right guard is going to be. So, I mean, they've talked a lot about Cam Jurgens being the guy that's going to play in there, the kid that they drafted last year, as he's a center, and they drafted him to be the center, thinking that it's possible Jason Kelce might be retiring. And now Kelsey's coming back. So they're just the coaches have sort of suggested that, well, Jurgens will just move him over to guard for 1 year. And he'll play guard until Kelce does retire, and then we'll move him back. But, I don't know that it's that easy. I mean, to me, Juergens is if you have, this is just me, okay? So maybe I'm totally wrong, but if you have Kelsey and Juergens side by side, you're small in the middle of your offensive line. I mean, you got basically two centers playing in the middle of your offensive line and two small centers. And to me, that's not desirable. I mean, you're going to put those two guys in there and you're going to have Dexter Lawrence, 360 pounds right over their head. I don't think that's good. I think Kelsey is a great player for sure, but he really, at his size, he kind of needs big bodyguards on either side of him. Well, he sure got one in Dickerson on the left, and he was great when he had Brooks and then Sayamalu the last couple of years. You put a guy about his same size on the other side of him, I don't know if that's going to work. So that's why I look at Steen at 6'5.5" and 325 pounds. That physically he's kind of that guy that you're looking for. Now, how much he has to learn in terms of changing and learning to play inside, that can't be discounted. I mean, he has to do that. But when I looked at it, I thought, okay, let's see how things go at training camp. I don't think it's as simple as just putting Juergens in there and saying, okay, we're good. I think that one of the reasons they drafted Steen here was let's give him a shot and see how this thing works out. Because, the offensive line last year was clearly the strength of the team. And you don't want to take a big step back from that. And, filling that right guard position, finding that guy who's going to play between Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey is pretty critical. And, maybe Juergens can do it. But I think Steen right now is a guy that, depending on how he shows at training camp, might have a chance to win that job.
Hey, Ray, the Eagles made a curious hiring draft week. Matt Patricia, as senior defensive assistant. I heard one analyst say they're doing so mainly to help, play defense against these great AFC quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and, some others that they may have to face down the line. What's your take on the Matt Patricia hiring?
That's an interesting theory about the AFC thing. I hadn't really thought about that. I think he has a reputation of being a really good defensive coach, defensive coordinator. I mean, he was a defensive coordinator under one of the best defensive coaches of all time in Belichick. It didn't work out for him when he got the opportunity to be a head coach in Detroit. But we've seen that before. Guys that were really good coordinators that turns out when they get a chance to be head coaches aren't particularly good at that. It's really, being a head coach is really a different animal than being a coordinator. I mean, there's so much else that goes into it. There's so many other responsibilities. Some guys are really, really good coordinators and don't do well as head coaches. And that's kind of what happened with Matt Patricia. He brought him back to New England last year and they had him coaching on the offensive side of the ball, which seemed odd to me. And that didn't seem to work out. But now he's back to doing, the Eagles have hired him to do what he was successful at doing, which is being a defensive coordinator. So I know a lot of people here were kind of scratching their head and thought it was a curious hire. I kind of just saw it as adding another quality NFL coach who understands winning and has won, and putting him in a position where he's been successful in the past. And we'll see. And there really is, I mean, the underlying story of he and Darius Slay, and the fact that they clearly did not have a good relationship in Detroit when he was the head coach and Slay was a cornerback there. I mean, Slay made no secret of the fact that he did not like Matt Patricia at all. That was one of the reasons why he wanted to get out of Detroit. And now everybody says that that's all fine and that's all water under the bridge and doesn't matter anymore. Slay has said that. Nick Sirianni has said nothing to worry about. So, okay, I'll take that at face value. But that might be a story to keep your eye on as the season plays out. But Patricia, this is a role where he's been successful in the past, is being he's not even the coordinator really. He's the assistant to the coordinator. But it's a kind of responsibility that he's handled very capably in the past.
Ray, the NFL hype machine has the schedule coming out on national TV tomorrow. You've watched many schedules roll out over 50 plus years. I wanted to ask you, do you see they're saying already the Eagles have the toughest schedule. Is that a thing with free agency now? Is it really that tough where you just got to line up and play? You're different, they're different, everybody's different.
Oh yeah. I mean, you still got to line up and play. The schedule, we've seen teams, the schedules have played out differently. I mean, every year, this is one of the things that just drives me crazy with fans, and not just Philly fans, but all fans. The schedule come out at 8:00 tomorrow night, and by 8:05, the Eagles fans will have already figured out, okay, win, win, lose, win, the win, lose, the win, win. And it's not going to turn out that way. I mean, in the course of the season, a lot of those games that you thought were going to be tough turn out to be easy because that team, either they've got injuries or it's one of those years where the roof falls in. And then there's another team that you thought was going to be a piece of cake that turns out to be really good. And so, it's never as easy it's never as easy as you think when the schedule comes out. But it's altogether reasonable that if you're a Super Bowl team and you're a conference champion, that the way the schedule falls is you're going to get last year's winning teams. You're going to get all the teams with the best records. And if you're in a division where the other teams in your division were pretty good, which they were in the NFC East last year, surprisingly, but they were, then, pretty much every week you're going to be playing a team with a winning record or close to it. And that's a challenge. It's one of the reasons why it's you don't see a whole lot of teams that lose a Super Bowl one year come back the next year. 56 times we've been down this road, 56 teams lost Super Bowls, and only 8 of them made it back to the Super Bowl the next year. And there's a reason for that. The schedule is tougher. You play tougher teams. Everybody's gunning for you. And there's just that a lot of teams just can't deal with the hangover of losing that Super Bowl. That can just be a crusher for a team. It really can, even a good team. You work so hard for one whole year to just fight and claw and get to the Super Bowl, and then to go there and lose. It takes an emotional toll on a team. It takes an emotional toll on a coaching staff. It takes an emotional toll on the players. And because then you gotta go back next year and you gotta start all over again. And that's one of the reasons why I have such tremendous respect for the Buffalo Bills. That, everybody says, well, they didn't win a Super Bowl. Yeah, but they got there 4 years in a row. And to me, to be able to climb that mountain, get knocked down, and climb it again, and get knocked down, and climb it again. That's why Marv Levy's in the Hall of Fame, is that he was able to do that with that bunch of guys 4 times. But nobody else has been able to do that. And few other teams have been able to go back even once. So I know people are optimistic about the Eagles, and they should be. They've got a good team. They had a good draft. There's a lot of reason to be optimistic, but nothing's a given here. And if you look at the record of teams that have lost in Super Bowls, that next year tends to be very, very challenging. And the schedule's part of that.
Hey, Ray, we have a couple of minutes left, and we have to talk about something that you're involved with that you've been doing for several years now. I'm going to lead into it by asking you, were you a fan of NYPD Blue back in the late 90s and early 2000s?
Very much so. It was one of my favorite shows.
Sure.
Same here. And that is my not so subtle way of segueing into the 2023 production of Tommy and Me, because it includes the guy in that new cast who played Detective Medavoy on Blue. What is the scoop on this year's production of Tommy and Me, Ray?
Yeah, Bucks County Playhouse, where we did the play last year, and had a great run. Just about this time, in fact, last year, we had a great, just about a 2-week run at Bucks County Playhouse. It went so well that the Bucks County Playhouse said, we want to do it again. And this time they wanted to do their own production of it. So they hired a director from New York named Nick Corley, and they hired an all-new cast to play the characters in Tommy and Me. And one of them was Gordon Clapp, who you mentioned was the detective in NYPD Blue for 12 seasons. And what was a really good cast there. David Caruso, Jimmy Smits, a lot of really good actors. Only one of those actors from that show in 12 years won an Emmy, and it was Gordon Clapp. So when they told me that they were sending the script to Gordon Clapp to see if he'd want to do it, I was, oh man, if you could get him, that would be a coup. And he got the script and he read it and he called them back the very next day and said, I'm in.
I heard he was a big Tommy McDonald fan, actually.
As it turns out, he was a big Tommy McDonald fan. He grew up in New England, but as anybody that watched NYPD Blue knows, Gordon is a little guy. And so as a kid growing up at that time, he was like the little guy in the neighborhood. And when everybody in the neighborhood got together to play football, he was the littlest guy on the field. And so, like a lot of little kids in Philadelphia, he just adopted Tommy McDonald as his favorite player and his role model. So when he got the script and saw that there was a play about Tommy McDonald and he was going to get to play Tommy McDonald, he was all in. So he's been here. I've gotten to meet him. I've gotten to know him. Great guy. And he is really excited about being Tommy McDonald. So it's going to be terrific. We're in rehearsals now, and the play opens May 19th, and it runs through June 17th. And we have 37 performances, lots of matinees, lots of opportunity for people to come out and see it. So, I know you guys have seen Tommy and Me, and here's an opportunity to come back and see it with a whole different production, all new cast, new director, new set design, new videos. It's the same story, but it's going to have a whole different look and feel. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, that's really cool that it's going 37 shows and basically a month long. That's really neat. Yeah,
it really is. It really is exciting. And Carl Kessler is a very experienced Broadway actor. He's going to be playing me. And William Bedard, who's a very fine young actor, just finished playing in a Harry Potter stage production out in San Francisco. He's going to be young Tommy. And we have a couple of, because there's so many performances, the part of the little kid is being divided between two 10-year-olds who are both just adorable. The audiences are going to love them. So it's really great. I'm just thrilled with the cast, and I really can't wait to get going. And you guys know you're kind of from up that way. I mean, you're kind of up in that Bucks County territory. So for any of your friends and fans and people that follow your show, it ain't that far to New Hope. So come on out and see the play. I think you'll, even if you've seen it before, it's worth seeing it this year because I think it's really going to look a lot different. And Gordon Clapp is, he's really going to be good. He's really going to be fine.
I'll be back for sure, Ray. Hey, last thing, you got a movie night coming up. You and Glenn this coming Tuesday. Is that right?
We do. We're having it's a sports movies night. It's something that Glenn and I have done before. And it's a night when Glenn and I get together and we just show clips from some famous sports movies and do a discussion with the audience. We talk a little backstory about, how this movie was filmed and how these actors were signed and which actor was supposed to play a certain part, but it turned out that somebody else played that part. And, there's a lot of backstory behind the story on the screen. And we get an opportunity to talk about all that. So it's next Tuesday night at the Bryn Mawr Film Institute at 7:30 p.m. Anybody that read the book, Ultimate Book of Sports Movies that Glenn and I did back, I guess, about 8 or 9 years ago, you kind of know where we fall on this. It's going to be Rocky. It's going to be Miracle. It's going to be Field of Dreams. It's going to be a lot of your favorite films, but it's going to be a really, really fun night.
Well, hey, Ray, before we let you go, run those dates again by us for Tommy and Me so I can write them down.
Okay. Tommy and Me will be at the Bucks County Playhouse in New Hope. We open on May the 19th, and we will run through June the 17th. Perfect. The only day we're not performing is Monday. We're going to be performing every other night, and then matinees on Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Fantastic. Well, Ray, as always, we appreciate your time. We're glad you're back. Well, you told us you were back retired, but we're glad to have you one way or the other. You're not going to be really retired.
Don't let my wife hear you say that. But my plan is to sort of slip back into retirement. But I'm always available to you guys. If you come up with an empty barrel one week, just give me a call.
Fantastic. Thanks as always, Ray. We appreciate you.
Right. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right.
Boy, Chad, I tell you what, it's always a pleasure to have Ray with us. He's fantastic and fantastic again today.
Yeah, he's the best.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Chet, spring is here. It's time for you to save some money with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yes, it is. Allstate pay-as-you-go auto insurance, Bill. It puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent in Westchester, Pennsylvania. That is Dave Lavoie. And by the way, in addition to auto insurance, Dave's Allstate office also offers home and renter's insurance, life insurance, business insurance, and more. Allstate in Westchester. Call Dave Lavoie at 610-430-0700. Once again, 610-430-0700.
Well, hey, Chet, since you already threw the Irish Rover up there, go ahead. Let's talk about the Rover.
You know, I have a couple of pictures that I wanted to post there from the Rover, so I have to find the other one right now. So, Bill, why don't you sing that Taylor Swift medley for everybody right now?
No, I'll pass on that because honestly, I don't know that I know any of those songs. If I heard them on the radio, I might know that was Taylor Swift, but yeah, and I've heard them, but I can't say that I know any of them. And I'm certainly not going to sing them. If I didn't have this cough going on, I would probably would. But I got this little cough, and I wouldn't do Taylor well with a cough like this.
I understand. Okay, I'll have to take over then. There is plenty happening, as always, Bill, at the Irish Rover. Now, first, the bad news. For the procrastinators, Sunday's always popular Mother's Day brunch at the Irish Rover in Langhorne is completely booked. So if you didn't book for the Sunday brunch at the Rover, you're out of luck for this year. Now, the good news, there are plenty of opportunities for you to celebrate Mom. All the time at the Irish Rover. You can take her to dinner anytime, Thursday through Sunday. Look at these dinners: shrimp scampi, turkey dinner, baked flounder. And of course, on Thursday, as they do every week, they have killer burgers. That ranch burger sounds really, really good this week. Now, something else that's going on at the Irish Rover, well, they have some special cocktails for the spring: spicy Paloma, raspberry lemon drop, a hibiscus Moscow mule. My goodness, sounds good. There's also, again, live music on Saturday night. This weekend, it is the great duo RCJ at the Rover. Of course, there's always 24 beers on tap and a great bunch of beer tenders and wait staff at the Irish Rover Station House. It is on Bellevue Avenue. I forgot. Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. I didn't forget. You can get more details on their website, irishroverstationhouse.com. So whether you get there or not, happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Hi, this is Ray Didinger, and it is always fun to talk sports with these two guys, Bill and Chet, on Philly Press Box Radio.
There you go. Hey, Chet, Game 5 is in the books. As we said with Ray, a fantastic effort, team effort by the Sixers. 4 guys scoring high into double figures. Embiid was his usual good. Maxey was really good. Harden scored a whole bunch of points with only taking about 8 shots, scored about 17 points. Great team effort. The big thing is what happened, and can they do it again in Game 6 and win this thing?
Oh, that was so impressive. And yeah, I think they can do it. You're never totally confident when the Sixers are going up against Boston, but it looked like they really did figure out how to stop those guys. They played better defense. And, even with Embiid, who's, maybe not the speediest of guys, they were able to keep the offense moving, and they got everybody involved. I mean, Maxey had his best game. Harden wasn't his best game, but it certainly was better than games 2 and 3. He was amazing in games 1 and 4, but he missed by a couple of rebounds of a triple-double in last night's win. So Harden was fine. Daniel House gets dusted off and comes off the bench, scores 10 points and grabs 5 rebounds in 15 minutes. Great move by Glenn Doc Rivers. I got to give the coach credit, Bill. He had a very good night. He outcoached the Boston guys. So kudos to Rivers, kudos to the Sixers, and I think they can finish it off at home. I hope so in Game 6.
Glenn Rivers is not getting any kudos until he wins this thing. One game does not a season make. Let's just go with that on that deal.
Yeah, I understand, and I understand the skepticism. I was skeptical last night. I didn't wager any money on last night's game, but I'll tell you this: after the Sixers won Game 1, I said, you know what? I think they have a good shot at winning the series. So I did throw some money on them to win the series, and I actually picked a specific number of games, 6. So if the Sixers do win it Thursday night in Game 6, I got plus 550 odds. So you know what that means. You bet $10, you get 55 back. You bet $20, you get 120 or 110 back. So it's a good bet if they win.
There you go. Well, two things. One, as I see you did that after I told you they were going to win. So that was a wise move on your part.
After
Two
game one,
is
yeah.
I hate to tell everybody this that's watching. You texted me last night at the beginning of early in the fourth quarter when they were up 19 and said, are they going to win this? They were up 19.
They are. They're going to win this, right? Right.
Yeah.
Because, well, you know, the other team always makes a run, but they tried to make a run late in the third quarter, and then Maxey hit a corner three and kind of quieted the crowd. That was great to see, and it was never in doubt after that. So that was a great win. They got to keep that momentum going for Game 6 in Philly. That crowd is going to be raucous Thursday night at the center.
Oh, big game. And you know, we've been in these Game 6s before. You really don't want to go back to the other place for Game 7 anytime. And that certainly stands for this series as well.
Yeah, it's exciting. So I'm confident, in fact, this is going to be the year they do get out of round 2 and onto the conference finals, very likely against those Miami Heat with Jimmy Buckets.
Yeah. And Chet, I'll say this again. I've said it a lot of times over the year. The thing that really worries me as this thing plays out, the longer they play, is that bench is squeezed down. You know, they're playing 8 guys. They got a little bit last night. They got a little bit from the Yang the other day, but they're not getting minutes. It's going to be these 6 guys pretty much that are going to have to carry this team. And the longer it goes,
nearly 34-year-old James Harden and Joel Embiid, who's still got the sprained knee, playing a lot of minutes. And it's tough when there's only one day off in between. So, yeah, I hope they hold up. I mean, I was worried about Harden because, you know, he hadn't had the longer rest like he would love to have, but he came up great in both games 4 and 5. And Embiid took the heavy brace off and looked much more mobile last night. So it was great to see. And I can't wait for Game 6.
All right, one final question that comes from Freddie Burns. How scared were you late in the fourth when backups cut it to 11?
I wasn't really scared then. It was just too late. If it was,
late.
maybe with 5 minutes to go, but it was, a minute and 45 seconds or whatever at that point. I wasn't overly worried. So I'm pretty confident right now. That could change tomorrow night at 7:35, but I feel good right now.
There you go. All right, hey, let's talk about the Phillies, Chet. An awful series in L.A., followed by losing 2 out of 3 at home to Boston. They win on Sunday. They win last night. They win again today. Great pitching from Walker, Nola, and Wheeler 3 days in a row. But in L.A. and early in Boston, they couldn't miss a bat. A lot of inconsistency with this team.
A lot of inconsistency. It was a bad week. I mean, let's face facts. Last week was very unpleasant other than Bryce Harper getting back in action. But he is back, and by and large, he has looked pretty good. He had another couple of hits today. Kyle Schwarber, now out of the leadoff spot, fortunately. He snapped an 0 for 21 slide on Sunday. And Bill, the guy who we were all worried about this year, the right fielder, number 8, Nick
Who was
Castellanos.
worried?
He has been, I got to be honest, he has been on fire. So, man, he's even looking like a gold glove outfielder all of a sudden. So, Nick Castellanos, comeback player of the year, Bill.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you, Chet, this is probably going to be very unpopular with Phillies fans.
Yeah.
I'm about tired out of Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, I hear that.
Or he did have 1 hit today, but he struck out 3 times. He struck out in the bottom of the 9th inning with guys all over the bases. All they needed was put the ball in place somewhere, and he strikes out yet again for the 3rd time.
He is a concern.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to hit 185 or whatever. You better be hitting home runs about once a day, not once every 5 days.
He's a concern, and both Bohm and, JT have cooled off a bit. I know JT hit a big hit today. So, yeah, but, guys go through up and down periods, slumps, they get hot. Trey Turner seems like he's getting back into the swing of things. So I'm not overly worried about the offense. I was more worried about the pitching, but as you said, they've gotten 3 great starts in a row now. We got Rangers Suarez coming back this Saturday, so hopefully that'll give the rotation a boost as well, Bill.
Yeah, well, and one final thought. I am a little concerned about the offense, and guys are cooling off as expected. But if you look at the run differential, I always talk about that goal differential, run differential, whatever. The Phillies are in the bottom half in runs scored and the upper half in runs given up. That's not good. The differential is about a negative 34 before last night. That's not good. You got to be better than that, while the Braves are about a plus 40. So they've got to get more consistent. They got to get better pitching, and they got to hit consistently, not 15 tonight and 1 tomorrow.
Oh, and Jose Alvarado on the injured list with the elbow soreness is a definite concern.
Absolutely, it's a concern. All right, let's move on. Let's give a shout out to all the shows at the edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The Sixers playoffs, the Phillies, the NFL schedule tomorrow night. A whole lot more going on this week. You can catch all the action at www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel. Please help us out. Hit those subscribe, follow, and like buttons. And as always, share with your family and friends. And as you see, Chet, we're loaded up at the edge of Philly
Sports. Indeed. And Bill, according to some calendars, today, May 10th, is National Small Business Day. And I mention that because Philly Press Box Radio is something of a small business, right? So, yeah, if you haven't yet done so, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, in addition to following our Facebook and Instagram pages. We really do appreciate your support. And speaking of small businesses, Dolan's Bar is the place to be this Saturday afternoon, Bill. It is Doladelphia, and Dolan's has a great day of fun on the agenda. There's wiffle ball, there's drink specials, guests including the Philly sports guy, Hollis Tank Thomas, Mickey Morandini, and Charlie Manuel. And hey, I'll be there too. My picture's not up there. I'm not in that class of guys right there, but it's going to be a fun day. I will be there. It is going to be a blast. Dolan's in Ridley Park in beautiful Delco.
That's it. Make a trip to Delco. All right, Chet. Whoa.
Yeah.
Is it time? We haven't had a random Chet in a long time. I hope you're not singing Taylor Swift songs.
I will not sing any Taylor Swift songs. I promise you that, Bill. And I think I have the answer here, but I'm going to ask anyway. How much of the 5-hour-long King Charles coronation did you watch Saturday morning?
Believe it or not, it was on, and I did actually see maybe 30 minutes. I actually did see the crown go on the head. I did see that part.
I saw little bits and pieces of it as well. My wife actually made sure that we recorded the whole thing, and she watched most of it on Sunday on the DVR. So good for her. But anyway, that's a lead in to this bit. I didn't watch much of the King Charles coronation last weekend, but I'll tell you, it did get me thinking about the dozens of great songs that have been made over the years that mention something royal in their titles: kings, queens, princes, dukes, etc. So just for the hell of it, I came up with a list of 25 of my absolute favorites in that category, royal tunes. Before I get to my royal dozen, here are 13 or so that I lumped into the honorable mention category, the biggest hits of which would be, I guess, Juice Newton's Queen of Hearts, Gene Chandler's great oldie, Duke of Earl, Lord's Royals, Billy Ocean's Caribbean Queen, and of course, ABBA's Dancing Queen. I almost put that one in my top 12. I know it was extremely popular, but I just couldn't do it. Oh, I'm sure I missed a few. In fact, I just realized I left out In the Court of the Crimson King. Hey, forgive me. It is all in fun. Okay, the Royal Dozen, as I've labeled my favorite 12. I had to put the Genesis song Duchess from their 1980 album Duke in there, some classic prog rock. Number 11, I loved this song as a little kid in the mid-1960s. Roger Miller's King of the Road. At number 10, cracking the top 10 from the final album by the Police in 1983, King of Pain. At number 9, from Tom Petty's Wildflowers album, It's Good to Be King. Yes, it is. Number 8 may surprise you, but this song, which came out nearly 40 years ago, 1984 it was, it's simply terrific. The production, the performance, etc. Sade's Your Love is King. Number 7, an underrated gem from those Boston rockers, Aerosmith, Kings and Queens. What a great tune that is. 6th, the song that introduced most of America to this band right here, Queen. Yeah, their first U.S. hit in the mid-1970s, Killer Queen. Okay, my top 5, we start off with that lone big hit by Leslie West Band, Mountain in 1970, Mississippi Queen. 4th, fans of rock radio know this one. It was a hit 10 years ago by the band Avenged Sevenfold, Hail to the King. Check that one out if you don't know it. Number 3 is another hard rocker, this one from Metallica in 1997, I believe, King Nothing from their album Load. At number 2 on my list, well, that would be the punk classic that ticked off the royal family and beyond in England in 1977 from the Nevermind the Bollocks album by the Sex Pistols, God Save the Queen. I love that tune. And, oh, yeah, I played the crap out of this 1993 CD. It is from the Spin Doctors, the CD, Pocket Full of Kryptonite. It included not only the hit Little Miss Can't Be Wrong, but my number 1 royal song, Two Princes. There you go. My list of royal favorites. Hope you liked at least a few of those.
There you go. How about that?
Bill, I bet you were a fan of King of the Road as a kid, weren't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt. Hey, a lot of good songs there, but it's funny that what spurs your brain going on. Little TV with the king and the whatever she is, and all of a sudden you got to have a list of songs.
I know. And yeah, Dancing Queen by ABBA could have made the cut, but it's ABBA.
Yeah, that's pretty unfair. Yeah. All right, hey, the Flyers' luck, if you want to call it that, continues to go the wrong direction. They finished 7th in the Connor Bedard ping pong ball sweepstakes. By the way, Chet, is Danny Briere the GM, or like you wouldn't think an interim GM would be running the draft? What's going on over there?
They haven't made any official announcement unless I missed it. Who knows? The Flyers organization, Bill, is something of a mess these days. No, they're not getting Connor Bedard, but they do have the pick number 7 in the draft, which, by the way, will be held in June, late June, down in Nashville. So they better have a plan in place beforehand, whether that includes Danny Briere as GM or not. The Flyers have lots of decisions to make this summer, Bill.
Yeah, well, and there's some rumors floating around that one of the finalists for the president's position is that Keith Jones. Surely not.
I don't get it. I mean, I love Keith. He's funny. He's a good broadcaster, but what are his credentials as far as being a president of the operations? And Eddie Olczyk, I saw you also posted, was a candidate.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what Olczyk does when he's not broadcasting, but I first thing that popped into my head was Keith Jones, who's a good hockey announcer, I think, and a good analyst. But he's doing a Flyers game one night. He's on WIP the next morning, and now he's going to be the president of the Flyers. Like, what happened there?
I mean, I'm sure he knows the sport. He certainly sounds like an intelligent guy when he's calling the games as a color analyst. I like him. He's funny. He's got a sense of humor. He had a long career. Eddie Olczyk had a long career too, and seems to be a decent broadcaster. But who knows? I don't know how qualified these guys are.
Oh, I don't either. But man, they need to get going. They need to make their hires. They need to get this thing straightened out and get back. Hockey in Philadelphia is too big a deal to be muddling around as an organization, and we need to get winning, get straight, get back into playoffs, and start being the Flyers like we expect the Flyers to be.
By the way, I have some friends who are Boston fans, and they are really upset about the Bruins' shocking early first-round exit. And now we are hoping that the Celtics will join them in starting their summer vacation earlier than planned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And a really quick story. I wasn't planning on doing this, and I don't want to take a lot of time, but I have a buddy who is a big Bruins fan also, and he was at the Bruins-Panthers game, the last game, and he was in a box. He calls me up, and he says, "Hey, you're not going to believe what I did last night. The stinking Bruins lost. He went through that whole thing." He said, "But they told me Bobby Orr was in the next box." Well, this guy's a salesman. He used to be a sales guy with the company I work for. What's he do? Knocks on the door. Bobby shakes his hand. Wanted to say hello. Huge fan. So he got to hang out with Bobby Orr just because he had the kahunas to knock on the door and say, "Yo, what's up, Bobby?"
That's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, like if Bobby Clark was in the next box when I was at a game, I'd try my best to go say hello.
Absolutely. So, and it was in Miami. It wasn't in Boston either.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So that was kind of cool. All right, hey, what's going on with Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly tailgates?
Bill, I always get hungry when I'm talking about
Yeah,
Cavs Philly
me too.
tailgates. Go figure. Bob Cavanaugh at Cavs Philly tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for more than 30 years now. Known best for their tailgate parties, Cavs is a 3-time winner of Jack Daniel's Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award, even featured on the Food Network. Next big event is a tailgate before the June 10th Phillies Dodgers game. That's a Saturday. Check out the menu for that one. Great food, all sorts of beverages, great variety. And by the way, Cavs also does corporate events, graduation parties, you name it. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. If you need more info, email them at cavscatering@verizon.net or check the website phillytailgates.com. And as you know by now, Cavs does the catering for Philly sports trips, and Vince and company there have some amazing trips planned for the spring and the summer. And boy, they're going everywhere. Denver, New York, Chicago, Pittsburgh. The Pirates slumping a bit now. The ultimate San Diego trip to Petco Park in early September. And once the NFL schedule is officially released tomorrow night, they will get to work on planning trips to the Eagles. 9 regular season road games. They know how to do it. They do it right. Check all the details, get all the details, pricing, additional trips, etc. at phillysportstrips.com.
Excellent stuff. All right, Chet. Great guest tonight in Ray Didinger. Can't beat him. Who's coming to Philly Press Box Radio next week?
I don't have this etched in stone yet, but I think it's going to happen. So I'm going to say, I think it's going to happen. Yeah. John Brazier. Haven't talked to Brazier in over a year. The director of fun and games at the Phillies. He will talk about upcoming promotions and how the Phils are doing. Hopefully they'll be on 8 or 9 game winning streak by then instead of 3 as it is right now. So he will be with us. In addition to that, we will have an interview with these guys who run Von C. Brewing up in Norristown, Pennsylvania. A couple of great guys. These are the co-founders of Von C. Brewing, Eric and Jay Von Chornig. What a great brewery they have. I've been there a couple of times. So I'm going to have a chat with them for you next week, Bill.
Schmitz of Philadelphia sign. I like that. That's old school.
Well, yeah, they're connected to the Schmitz family. They are like 6th or 7th generation descendants of C. Schmidt and Sons. So, yeah, they have one of the Schmitz original recipes in one of their most popular beers today. How about that?
Wow. How about that? Very cool.
You'll hear the story next week after I talk to them.
Looking forward to that. Well, hey, let's take another quick break and thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Raz Room. They post great sports memorabilia on their Facebook page, so people can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. They continue to run out great autographed memorabilia from all the Philly teams and more. Check out their Facebook page. Like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Raz Room. That's right. PPCC 118 Raz Room on Facebook.
Hey, Bill, I got a trivia question for you.
Okay.
Let's see if you know it. You might. You know your sports. Who was the last switch hitter to win the American League Most Valuable Player Award?
Last switch hitter to win the American League Most Valuable Player.
It's a bit of a trick question.
Well, what can be a trick question? It's a switch hitter and an MVP. Why is it a trick?
He wasn't known for his hitting. He was a pitcher.
He was a pitcher. I am going to have to pass on that, I think.
Well, he just died last week. Vida Blue.
Vida Blue.
He was a switch hitter.
Yeah,
he was.
How about that?
And yeah, he died last week at the age of 73. What a great pitcher he was in the early 70s. My goodness.
Oh, so, that A's team of that era was just fantastic. You know, with that was the young Reggie Jackson and man, them guys. Well, you remember talking to Ray Fosse about
Yeah.
that. Rest in peace, Ray. With some great stories of that whole team and the chaos that took place with Charlie Finley's A's. That was a dynasty for sure. If free agency didn't get in the way and mess that up.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, do you have anything else you want to discuss, Bill?
I did want to say to you, I saw an ad, and you probably know more about this than I do, but I saw an ad on the Phillies game last night. Dick Allen bobblehead night coming up.
I'll be there June 9th.
June 9th. So we'll
Got
get
my
a chance
tickets.
to talk to John Brazier about that. Dick Allen
Absolutely.
bobblehead night. Yeah.
I will be there.
And how about they showed a picture of the bobblehead where he's actually got his glasses on.
Oh, I didn't see the
It's like his
bobblehead
old, almost like his old rookie early years kind of look is how the bobblehead's going to look. Pretty cool.
Oh, very cool. You know, I love the bobbleheads, and you know, I was a big Dick Allen fan. So as soon as I saw that on the schedule, I said, that's one of the games I'm going to this year. I'll be there with a buddy of mine, and can't wait.
Very good. All right.
So,
what else you got?
I have the calendar that tells me what national day it is. Like,
yeah, that one.
Today, Small Business Day, and Lipid Day, and Clean Your Room Day, all these goofy things. Tomorrow is...
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Yes, it is National Twilight Zone Day. And the funny thing is, there's like no real connection between it and May 11th. It wasn't like Rod Serling's birthday. It wasn't when it debuted, but somebody several years ago decided May 11th was Twilight Zone Day. So I was a fan.
So we have the 4th be with you on, and a week later we have Twilight Zone, and we have Cinco de Mayo and Taylor Swift Thursday. What? Come on, man.
It is going to be a wild weekend down at the Lincoln surrounding areas with Taylor Swift doing 3 sold-out shows. Tickets, by the way, going on StubHub for $1,300 and up.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to throw this up there. I'll come back to Taylor. John Roberts just posted this. Rest in peace, Joe Kapp. Joe Kapp was a great quarterback, not necessarily a great quarterback, great leader of some great teams of the old Vikings back in the day.
Yeah, we're losing a lot of them now, Bill. All these
yes, we are.
70, 80-year-old guys.
So Taylor Swift, I got to go back to this. She opened the tour here in Tampa. Same deal.
Yes.
It ended up being 3 nights. It was supposed to be 2. They went to 3 because of such demand. And that's where the whole ticket master debacle started with the cost of those tickets. And apparently it hasn't settled down any.
No, it has not. Yeah, they added the 3rd show in Philly too, and it's still crazy. There's still just overwhelming demand. And speaking of big tours, Aerosmith kicking off their alleged farewell tour in Philly, September 2nd. I had a dentist appointment last Friday morning, so I couldn't get tickets when they went on sale at 10. When I tried at noon, they were all gone except for the secondary market ones.
Where's that going to be? Is that at the bank?
That is at the Wells Fargo Center.
Wells indoors. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
Wrap it up, Bill.
You're not going to sing, so I can get out of here before you break into tune. Here we go. Let's wrap it up. Let's thank tonight's special guest, Ray Didinger, our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs, Phillies Tailgates, BPCC, 118 Raz Room, and David Loy of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, May 17th at 7 p.m. You see us live on Facebook. Listen to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, on Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and let's go Sixers.